Oh, this is part two of a video I just uploaded on YouTube. So it's part two, and the name of the first one, this is would be part two, is Parody by Hustler, November the '83 issue, Mind Control Patterns. Um, anyway, you can find it under the name I have to use, Peggy Ann Childers. Oh, Larry Flint did endorsed me in Hustler magazine, April of '84, and here's just a picture of it. The reason I want to show that is I did a book in '77, '78 in Marietta, Georgia, is where I was living at Moonraker Apartments. The title of the book was MD, A License to Kill. Um, Now then, it's about mind control murders, and I could get lengthy here, and I'll try not to. I don't feel like uploading anymore or doing any more today. But it was about mind control murders and what you can do with it. You can create an illness or cure one. So you can imagine, this goes back to the Tesla files, early 30s that were stolen. So if this were made public, it would take down the medical field, all of it. Just look when you go in a hospital and imagine all that goes into it. And rather than researching for illness, which you could already cure, they're really just putting it into better equipment, more equipment, hospitals, doctors, nurses, drugs, pharmacies, all that. So inventory. Okay, so I'm getting away from, I wrote about mind control. Larry McDonald was one of the doctors I wrote about. He's a U.S. congressman. Got a letter from the FBI, U.S. Attorney Harper, June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. And April Fool Day of '80, I was filled full of antifreeze and should have died. A fiasco went on, them trying to kill me, and I had brain damage, of course. I was illegally transported across the state to Alabama, to Huntsville, where, oddly enough, I went to work for the District Attorney Fred Simpson in Huntsville, Madison County District Attorney, and lived at Warren House. So you can get the crypt there where I was living. Warren House is like associated with John Kennedy. And Simpson is associated, the name of the district attorney associated with Wallace Warfield Simpson, who married an impostor, a double, and they became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. My father, and this is my father's picture, was legally married to Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist, her sister. Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe, and I'm going to show that it's the O'Keeffe genealogy. My mother was a commoner, and back then she would have been referred to. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the citizens of the UK or the British. This has to do with some of my family and the New World Order, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Roosevelts, my Uncle George the Sixth. They ousted my father illegally, and it was illegal. I was born in '39 and kidnapped in '41. Now here, this has to do with the patterns. Here's George, my uncle, who became illegal George the Sixth, with Roosevelt, '39, and it's in a copy of U.S. News and World Report, April the 28th of '97. They were planning my kidnapping. And by the way, Kennedy, uh, Joseph Kennedy was ambassador to Great Britain, 36 till they kicked him out in 46. He helped with my kidnapping and taking down my father. Now, he's Irish Catholic. Part of it was that in no way did the Kennedys want close ties between Britain and Ireland. So even though he's Irish Catholic, my mother was Irish American Catholic. So there you go. John Kennedy, his son, flew in and out during 40, in the time I was kidnapped, by the way. So I hope everybody gets to see what was happening to me prior and after November of 63. I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, and the Kennedy sons, John and Robert, just carried on what their father had started. Got a hostage like me that's the real monarch, Victoria II, and you work it for all it's worth, and you torture the hell out of me, and that's exactly what they've done. But I'm back to these patterns, and I'm going to try to, so that I haven't lost anyone. I just want to say that this woman is illegal. They have had every chance in the world to reach out and correct the wrong they've done. Instead, Elizabeth and Charles are part of the New World Order, which is in place. Obama has even said it when the everything was shut down, the government, a month and a half ago now. He even made it on a tape that the New World Order was in place. So here's Elizabeth part of it, and she's illegal. And here's how they referred to me here some time back. You should get some later issues before 2000 where they did tell some truth about me living in the forest, and they gloss it over. You don't see the truth in a background check or anything. I can't even say my name. Okay, so that I haven't gotten too far away. I want to say that the murders, I hope I'm not being redundant. I've done 2 of these, and I didn't upload them because they were too long. And the 2, you can think for yourself whether you want to, mind control is mind control. It's not something visual you can look at like a gun or fingerprints. So it's invisible. So only through patterns and someone deliberately doing it can you prove it. But I'm just going to say this because it fits in the pattern, and excuse me if I'm being redundant. When I was out at Flint's in October of 83, and this, by the way, was in April of 84, so this is months later, and I haven't seen Mr. Flint, so it was put. I'll tell you what he said. He showed me the Falwell, the parody, while I was there in October of 83, and it was published by Hustler in November of 83. And he said it took 3 months ahead of time, so they knew ahead of time what was going to happen and what was going to be published. Now, I may have shown this to you, excuse me. But in the parody, Mr. Flint, let me say this, Salisbury was his art director, I believe, that helped create the parody. The parody had to do with Jerry Falwell, the Reverend Jerry Falwell, next door to where I'm at now. I'm in Roanoke. And he is in, he's deceased. His son keep Liberty University going and have taken over where he left off. But there was a court battle that went to the Supreme Court where Falwell sued Larry Flint, and Larry Flint had the parody. And the point I want to make, it was overturned, and the Supreme Court, they found for Falwell, then overturned it because it was freedom of speech. In the parody, which I didn't know I was going to end up here in Roanoke or any of this. This was in 83 when he showed it to me. And in it, it had Jerry Falwell. It had they called it an outhouse, or if you want to call it a bathroom, as we call where you go now, or a toilet, or your you take a bath in your restroom or your bathroom, as we call it. So the outhouse there would connect back to what in the parody at Falwell, Lynchburg here. They're using it along with the young man who was shot by the police. He was a student, Joshua Hathaway, at Liberty University, Falwell University. And the Hathaway, his last name, Joshua's is biblical, but Hathaway has to do with the Beverly Hillbillies. Now, this is something that I know about that you wouldn't be able to connect this, but it's the Homer and Jethro, or Jethro Bodine, the Beverly Hillbillies. And Hathaway has to do with Nancy Culp played Jane Hathaway to the banker Drysdale in the Beverly Hillbillies. So the name Hathaway comes from there, Beverly Hillbillies, and who played it. And the U.S. senator that I've said, his son ended up shooting himself. That's what they're saying in Bath County near here, and near not too far from Lynchburg, not far at all. So if that sounds not, I'll say this, and I'm not laughing because any of it's funny, and it certainly isn't funny that I've told the truth and I get kidnapped. This is my dad, the man that, uncle that helped the Roosevelts in the United States kidnap me, bring me over here and give me another name. So none of it's funny. I'll say this, that an FBI agent told me, and he pretended he was yawning, that he said to me, when people hear what you're saying, you bore them, and he pretended to be, he faked yawning. He said it's not until they know how it affects them that they care. Well, then they only care for themselves. I found that out. Because mind control can be, you're not immune to it. No one is. You wouldn't even know you're getting it, or your kids are being programmed. And then they're going to be blamed by using mental illness to lock you up and further torture you. And believe me, the psychiatrists, if they don't know the difference in mind control and mental illness, something needs to be done. Mind control has nothing to do with mental illness. So where have I gone here? I want to say real quick, I'm not going to do this again. Not today. I feel too bad. I want to say that when I was in Grottoes prior to coming here, an FBI agent, which I later found out that I had met at Brown Engineering, where my husband worked in about 62 in Huntsville, the space industry. He ends up there in Grottoes, supposed to be retired. And as far as I know, he's a good guy. They used to come in the store. I was actually with a Hustler car parked there around back where I was pumping gas and cashiering to live in 85 and 84. He came in, and he said, he came in often, and I filled his tank up and all that with gas. I mean, he paid for it, but I'm pumping it. And he said, they've made it so ludicrous that people know when you tell it, you're telling the truth. It gives them the chance to walk away or help you, and they walked.